Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel of Luna and the Druid, a channel fully dedicated to magic, tarot, the Wheel of the Year, spirituality. And my name is Jan, I'm the Druid, and next to me you see Luna, the High Priestess of the Dark Night of the Soul, guiding you, guided by Luna. And welcome, Luna. Nice to see you again after a few days. And what shall we talk about tonight?
Yeah. Hello, Jan, and welcome.
Uh,
We welcome all our viewers as well. It's so great to be here again and see you, Jan. And yes, well, tonight we will talk about empowerment, which will be inspired by a card number 4 from Major Arcana, the Emperor. We are continuing the Fool's journey, and today let's see what we can learn from the Emperor, what Fool can learn from the Emperor.
yeah,
How about that?
that's a lovely idea, and I really want to go deeper in the superpowers of the emperor. What makes
Mm.
him or them the emperor? How do we see them in our normal lives around us? Where are they in industry, in showbiz, or just your neighbors or the people around you? Who are they? What are they? Mm, if we look at emperor types, what's specific traits would we give them?
Authority, structure, masculine energy, leadership, taking responsibility. Those are the first words which come to my mind when I think of the Emperor.
Yeah, and of course, with authority, leadership, and power comes responsibility, of course, and with responsibility, and especially with sometimes with power over other people, comes compassion. Very important to be compassionate, uh, to take care of your people. We'll probably see some emperors later down the line, some examples of emperors who do, and some examples of emperors who are ruthless and not compassionate. The dark side of the emperor, um, and of course, it's the emperor energy is creating order out of chaos, and especially the emperor, I would definitely say it's someone who doesn't like to be told what they should be doing.
We're here for only 3 minutes, and we're already going so deep into the Emperor, bringing so many aspects.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so where would you like to start?
Well, maybe what I just said, the stepping out of the blueprint of society, stepping out of what society forces you. That's step one in becoming an emperor. I have a nice picture to show, and
Mm.
yes, and here we see, and look at the two persons here. We have a puppet and we have a puppeteer. And when it comes to your own life, which of the two are you?
That's a
Think
really
about
good
that.
question.
Are you the puppet? Do other people uh, manage the strings of your life? Do other people decide what you should be doing or what you not should be doing? Or are you completely autonomous, like an emperor, and decide for yourself what's uh, what's appropriate for you to do? And of
Mm.
course, we see like maybe 60-70% of the population follows a blueprint in their life. If you look at their life path, it's it's the same. We're born, we play around a bit for 5-6 years, then we go to school, primary school, secondary school, uni, or whatever. We learn a trade, then we get to work, find a partner, get a mortgage and a car on on loan, and with your partner you probably you marry, maybe get some children, pay off your loan for 30 years, 35 years, get to your retirement and die. Boom.
Working your lovely favorite, lovely favorite. Why did I say favorite? Lovely part of the body off.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, yeah, that's so true, and it's important to ask ourselves that question: where am I in my life? Is there somebody else, just like you said, pulling the strings? And how, if I will find those connections that maybe I don't have that authority just yet, what to do and how to get control back, get the strings, and become a puppeteer rather than
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
puppet.
Yeah. Or be the puppeteer of your own puppet.
Yes.
I as you know, I love to work uh, with my own observer. My own observer is what I call my higher self. So that's the one that goes above my brain, body, above my mind, above my soul. But that's my spirit. It's my true
Mm,
spirit. It's the one I got connected from at birth, and I slowly find this spirit of mine. It's whatever it is, whatever type of it is. But I see my spirit as my observer, and what I want
mm,
as an emperor, what I want is my observer to have a good time up there,
mm.
looking looking at the movie of my life unfold, getting in trouble and getting out of trouble again, to get in trouble once more. And it happened many times in my life that things got excited, and and I found my way out. That's of course that's always the thing. um, Taking your own responsibility, make taking responsibility for the things you do good, and taking responsibility for the other things.
Yeah, and that's the essence of the fool's journey. Um, and today, the fool meets the emperor. Uh, what the fool can learn from the emperor.
Yeah, what the fool can learn from the emperor. Like a few things we already said is the value of structure and order,
Mm,
the value uh, of a structural life, of a strong foundation in your life. Um, you need to, and the strong foundation, again, like I said before, doesn't have to be a regular job. It can just be a strong mind in a healthy body that manages their own lives. Um,
mm.
but then set for yourself the structure, set your boundaries, establish routines. Although that sounds boring a lot of time, but sometimes you need routines just to get into the flow, to create order out of chaos.
Well, I have a way around that routine. Routine is very negative. It sounds boring. But if we create rituals instead of that routine, if we make it something sacred, if we make it into something we cherish, it completely changes the vibe and it makes things easier and makes goals easier to achieve.
Yeah. So you would you suggest making your routines like purposeful and meaningful?
Absolutely,
Give
absolutely.
give them a meaning.
Making time for something special. Um, Lighting a candle, creating a lovely mood in order to prepare yourself to tackle a task.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then we get to the higher spiritual ideas where you say, be fully present in the task you're doing.
Mhm.
Do it with full conviction. And uh, we are at our place. We have the habit of doing the dishwashing meditation a few times a day, and really spend time with the dishes, to make sure that they're bright and shiny, and that they go
Mm.
as perfect as they came out of the cupboards, and that's, of course, it sounds very boring, but when you do it with full attention, it becomes meaningful.
Oh, I was actually able to observe that process, and you were not just a perfect team, but I could see that there was meaning behind it, that it wasn't just the act of washing the dishes and cleaning them, polishing them. No, I could see that it was something else, something deeper was involved into it. And the presence and the peace I could feel from coming from that side of the kitchen was something I noticed. I was like, lovely, lovely.
Special.
Absolutely
Yeah,
special.
it works.
And all of a sudden, a task which I personally hate makes it more pleasurable, and that's what I do as well. I play some music, for example, to create a nice environment around me. Sometimes it's something energizing if I don't necessarily want to do it, and so I can dance. I love to move while I'm doing stuff,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's something calming me down when I know that I want to connect with my inner self, and
Yeah.
that's washing dishes is the task which doesn't require a lot of thinking about it. It's habitual. You can do it without actually your mind being involved.
Yeah.
But when you are fully present and concentrate on what you're doing, magic happens, because
Yeah.
all of a sudden we come into a different space and place within ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that way, so you create quality in the doing. I remember a restaurant that I used to frequent had a waiter that had the same idea when he served the dishes. You felt special,
Mm,
and the and I would say the waiter was the emperor in the restaurant. Well, he was
mm,
just a waiter, but he put so much quality in what he was doing and so much presence towards his customers. I think he must have had the greatest tips of all the staff there, because that was the way he approached things. And so you can see that even if you're like an employer, you still can be an emperor,
mm.
because you still yeah, when you do it deliberately, when you feel that you have the choice of doing this, you don't have the obligation of doing this, then you are the emperor. And I remember a conversation I had last week with various people. We were in a group together in a Zoom, and three people says, "Oh, I hate my job." Boom.
Mm. That's the thing,
I
exactly.
hate my job. Who are you? Then you're just a puppet.
Mm.
You're not in control of your life when you hate your job.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
of course, there are tasks which we necessarily don't like, and it has to be done. But in my opinion, when you love what you're doing, you stop working. You never work anymore because you're
Yeah.
doing your passion.
Yeah.
Mm.
And of course, uh, I get the idea of the responsibility for having a job, for making an income for your family, your children, or whatever. But still, if you hate your job, get out of there, or start
Mm.
changing your approach.
Yeah.
Build
There is
quality.
nothing bad in having a job, but if you hate it, why do you do it to yourself? Why would you do it? Why do you suffer? That's a very
Yeah,
important question to ask if you're facing a situation like this.
yeah,
Because we seem that sometimes we think that there is no option, that there is no other alternative, and that's a limiting belief, because there is always another option.
there's always a chance to get out, to step out, and step out of the path that others lay for you, and choose your own path. That's the idea. And this, of course, a step further. And that now we have the emperor as a basic. Uh, the step further is, of course, become this leader, become this
Mhm.
authority, also in the world around you. And then you have to find what are the qualities you bring there as an authority.
And owning that as well, because emperor is
Owning
also
that, yeah,
owning it as well.
but yeah, and finding the balance between decisiveness and fairness.
Mhm.
Having the best interest of others in mind, at heart. So be the
Yeah,
leader. Yeah,
yeah.
go on, be the leader and do it.
compassion is not an aspect which is often connected with the emperor, and I would like to talk about a little bit
Yeah.
on that side of the emperor, because that's not something obvious. However, I see an emperor as a father figure very often.
Yeah.
When it comes within a reading, I know that the man who is in front of me is a father.
Yeah. The emperor, of course, as the counterpartner of the empress, which is the absolute mother figure, um,
Mhm.
with power, like we said before, comes responsibility, and with becoming a father, becoming the head of the family, if either man or woman, but when you become the head of the family, you get a role which would be in traditional society would say that's a father's role. It comes with
Or
responsibility.
male's role very often as well.
Yeah, yeah, male's role. Yeah, yeah. That of course that's the question: is the emperor a male or a female? And I'm actually with all the major arcana cards where there's people there. I think the gender is replaceable.
Yeah, well, to me, it represents the energy, the polarity of the energy, feminine or masculine energy. But
Yeah,
we all have both energies within us.
of
Just
course,
because we're a man, it doesn't mean that there is that the energy will be masculine. It can be feminine. The leading one can be feminine.
of course.
We always have both, and it's important to balance those both energies
Yeah,
and to take what's the best from both, because the masculine energy is the energy of doing, going, and the feminine energy is the energy of receiving, but also creating and sometimes chaos, which is actually my favorite.
yeah. You like chaos?
I love chaos. Oh my goodness. Chaos is just like a little bit of tower, like comes, just shakes things up, and all of a sudden new things emerge of that. I
It's a,
thrive
yeah.
on chaos.
It's the power of breaking things to make space for new things. So
Yes.
it creates the foundation for creation,
Yeah.
and
Or
that's
also comes with ADHD.
that's clumsiness.
As well, yeah.
Breaking stuff, breaking stuff.
But it's never boring and it's always fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So our emperor is a foundation builder. Yeah.
Yes,
On,
and it's
on,
the opposite of chaos actually. So it's the polarity in some sense towards the Empress as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Not only the emperor, so because I see, um, like I said, I see in the archetypes we have the male and the female archetypes, they can be they can be uh, attributed to men and women all the time. And what I definitely always say, uh, you for any for any person, you can't just say, oh, this is an emperor and there's no other aspects to them.
This is an emperor, and there is plenty of aspects towards it.
Yeah, look at them.
Yeah. This is
and,
the Star Tarot,
and
um,
yeah.
and
What I
it's
think so interesting. This
from
emperor of yours has the horses of the chariot here.
yes, that's very interesting, isn't it? It's the black
Yeah,
and the white horse, so it represents this movement forward, this
yeah,
ability of making things happen.
yeah. That's it. Yeah, and yeah, moving on and ruthlessness also. That's one of the dark sides of the emperor, of course.
Mhm.
The ruthless ideas, and we have a few interesting emperors on our in our society on high places. We have Jeff Bezos from Amazon, one of the richest persons in the
Oh,
world.
yes.
But the warehouses of Amazon are not far away from sweatshops, and there's this idea of responsibility or of not taking responsibility. Yeah,
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you mention someone who you think is an emperor in your life, or who is an emperor?
Funny enough, it's a person from my everyday life. The wonderful example of an emperor would be my neighbor, she's a woman, she's a mother, she's a head of a family, she's a head of a big farm, and whatever she does, I can tell that she's first of all brilliant in what she's doing. She's not afraid to take action. She does jobs which some people would describe as a male job. She's not afraid of working physically, and she's a great in building structure, organizing. She's a visionary, and she knows her goals. She makes plans, and she makes certain steps to follow that path she creates for herself, which empress, a mother, becomes an emperor in some sense, like a father, the head of a family structure.
Interesting. And she works with horses, you say?
Yes, she's amazing. She's actually was around horses since she was a child. So for me, it's fantastic to observe how she moves around and how she manages them, and how she works with them. That's something I've
And
learned.
okay, and what I think is interesting, um, we are Geminis. We are all over the place, but I always find interest in people who are who find some purpose in their life and dedicate their life to it. You know, people
Mm,
who start a small shop at the age of 20 and do that all their lives because that that's what they want. And
mm,
you see shadow sides there as well. For instance, in family businesses, when it's expected of one of the children, in farmers quite often the son, to take over the thing, and there you go. And I get a lot of people uh, as a coach who struggle with the idea of being pushed uh,
mhm.
into the family business while they rather do something different. And when are you still an emperor then? And then have you the courage to say, "This is my boundary. I stand up for what I'm truly believe in, and I do believe that I should not do this." Yeah,
Image of hello camera. Can you just
yeah, I
oh
see him. Yo, oh, that's the Morgan Greer deck.
yes, Morgan Greer.
Oh, yeah,
We can see the boundaries. He's holding the sword here, which that's the boundary. It's like I am not gonna tolerate this or that.
yeah, yeah.
This is how far you can go. This is my territory, and I make here rules, not you.
And I don't take this shit anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. I love this image because the power and the strength. You can tell that this person is grounded.
yeah,
This
yeah,
emperor here has control over.
yeah. And because he creates so much clarity for the people around them, they know they can rely on them, and they know they can rely on the help for in their personal development, but also build a healthy relationship with the emperor, because that's with again I say with this power also comes responsibility, and we see a lot of bad things also happening with people of power in history.
In our everyday lives.
Their lives. Yeah, yeah,
Of
yeah,
history, but unfortunately, the history has a lot of example of that.
yeah. I have
What's your example? Have you got an example of an emperor?
I also yeah I was thinking before today I had a long drive, and I was thinking of who shall I pick, and someone was on the radio. I think, oh my god, it's not a very obvious one in my personality, because I'm not really touched by this person's work herself. But if I look at what she does, because my emperor is also a woman, uh,
Mm.
yeah, and she's really big. She was a Time Person of the Year, and she had a Grammy again for her fourth consecutive album. So we're talking about Taylor Swift.
Oh wow!
and I
She
had a
really
long
built something, the emperor.
a long time to think about her, because okay, she's an emperor. She's the number one artist in the world at the moment. She's in the US. Her the turnover in her company is 2% of the music turnover. That, but you think 2% is not much, but if you think that if every artist would have 2% of the market, we would only have 50 artists in the world. While we have millions. So it's really, really huge what she does.
Mm.
The- she's really ruling it, and she's ruling it from a very high vantage point. Uh, she's doing that. What I discovered, actually, that of course she's a single woman. She has a serial monogamous, so she has friend after friend after friend. But a woman this strong is quite a handful for most men, I think. And I think, where is she the empress? You know, she's not only an empress, she's a woman. So
Mm.
where are her female archetypes? So no man, no children. Then I read about her family. That's the people she tours with,
Mm.
and she is a mother. She has she has a she really builds a family. You know, the people that go with her on tour, they leave their families or they leave their homes for a long time, and she builds a family for the people she works with. And she spent after the big Eras tour, she spent 55 million bonuses to her employees.
Wow.
They all got they all got something in the hundred thousands of extras.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
she's an empress, and then okay, that's all further. Is she also a priestess or a magician?
I think she embodies all of them.
Yeah. When the show goes on, she's of course she's the high priestess of her tour, but
And the magician for show.
but of course the magician. She's very much a magician because she creates this illusion of a big show, and in that perspective, uh, she bridges the whole gap from the fool to the universe or to the world. She
Yeah.
is, yeah, and so a very interesting personality. Like I said, I listen. Later I put on a few albums of her on Spotify, and her music doesn't really touch me, which is the essence of music. So even though I have the admiration for what she does, I might not even be a fanboy. uh, yeah, but still great feats, and I really love the idea of what she builds around it, or and how she,
Mm.
with pure with quality,
She
and
builds legacy. And
like,
that's what Empress is all about, building and
yeah,
creating legacy as well.
yeah, and one very small brilliant example of her emperor character, that there was an issue with the rights of her earlier albums, and so she didn't have the full rights of her early albums. She offered a crazy amount to repurchase them. The owner of the rights refused. You know what she did? She just recorded the five albums that were uh, that were not hers. She re-recorded them, and now they're Taylor's version, and
Mm.
nobody listens to the old ones anymore. So she really took no shit. And there she was, the queen of swords. Interesting person, and really someone who embodies an a real emperor, like the ruler of everything. Yeah,
Mm.
good
That's a
stuff.
really great example. Thank
Yeah,
you for bringing it.
you're
I
welcome.
didn't think of, because I don't know much about Taylor Swift, but there was a reason you heard it on the radio today.
Yeah, of course. And I got the time to think about it, and to get together what how I would see her manifest, and then
Mm.
and so that's funny that we both our emperors would be women.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's very interesting.
yeah, yeah, and that, so that also creates the idea of that you can be who you want if you're a man or a woman. Hard work, quality, uh, boundaries, standing strong, bringing in your values. That's all what encompasses, what all what builds an emperor.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
and Luna, could you help a bit, or let's discuss a bit, or how when you're, for instance, when you're 2025, you studied, you have a career, you build, how do you get control of your life?
My goodness, it was so long ago. I can't even remember.
Ah, come on.
That's a joke. Well, that's a very interesting question. And all I can say is by owning your everyday, focusing on your goals, obviously, when you're 20, the life is ahead of you. You don't know yourself that much.
Yeah.
You don't know what life is about just yet. However, observing the new generations of people who come to this planet, the entire generations of rainbow children, crystal children, indigo children, those people are different already. They have this, interesting. They look at the world different. They grew up in a world where everything was there for them. They were given a lot. I'm talking about the younger generations who's 20 right now or ish. And they feel like they own everything and everything should be easy for them to get because in life that's all they know. Of course, I'm generalizing here because there are different situations. Everyone has a different situation. However, I'm not sure if those new generations embody emperor in a way I would see it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, yeah. Like what I see, I see similar things in you. I see children growing up in a very extremely protective environment, a protective government. Even, it's not only the parents, but it's also the government. I talked this weekend with, with someone, and we said, I talked about my knees when I was about between 4 and 7. I always had band-aid on my knees. Because I would always fall on the gravel or on the street or from a swing or whatever, and there was nothing to save me. I'm just the same. I was always wounded, and we did things, that children are not allowed to anymore, like climbing trees. We built underground tunnels, extremely dangerous because they just could collapse on you and you'd be dead. And the bicycle I rode with, um, I had to stop it by putting my foot on the front wheel. There was not even a screen over it,
Yeah, like
and
Fred Flintstone.
sometimes that went wrong, and my foot got between between the thing. I toppled over, and all these dangerous and dangerous stuff is taken away from people, and from young people, and they yeah, and they play inside. They play with their Xboxes or PlayStations or Nintendo Switches or whatever, and yeah. So you learn less. You get less exposure to the dangers of life. So you have less ability to grow over it. There is actually a group of young people, and it's a very big growing group, which I um, which make me very curious. That's the people on the autism spectrum.
Sensitive, beautiful
Yes,
soul,
yeah,
completely not understood,
yeah,
completely not
yeah.
being able to adapt to society, to the rules, to the
But what
harshness of the modern world.
they are the rule breakers.
Yeah.
They're the ones that get out of it. And I
Mm.
see a lot of mothers in my practice as a tarot practitioner, and lots of mothers have children on the spectrum, and I always ask them, do you see it as a handicap or a disability or as a superpower? And when I just give them these three options, they always choose superpower.
Because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
We just
yeah,
don't understand it. That's why we think it's a disability or it's a disadvantage in life or however you call it. But
yeah.
it's not. Those
Yeah.
people see the world different. They have a different spectrum. Our physical body is able to see only 1% of what's there in the world, because we can only, our perception is only 1% of the spectrum of light. Same with the sound. We hear only 1% of what actually exists in the universe around us, in the physical world and
Mhm.
non-physical. And those people, those children, see the world a little bit different. They have different gifts. They may not act the way we perceive as a
Yeah.
normal,
Yeah.
which is a very label, in my opinion, which we should absolutely. There's no such thing as normal.
Out of the window with no. Out of the window with normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and and the superpower I see manifesting is, of course, then we have the savants, the one that do one thing very, very, very good. But what I see a lot in these people, when you give them this or allow them to work with their own creative structure, they can create. They can reach this hyper focused state and make things of superior quality.
Yeah.
The production of their work is always superior because they don't allow for mistakes.
They're geniuses
They're genius.
in a, yes, I know a person who inspires me so much, who's on this the scale of spectrum, but I feel that that person is a genius. I love his mind, I love his creativity, I love what he can do with it. It's just so inspiring and so fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, there is that generation who is very successful in a very young age. They are 20, they already have 2 3 super successful businesses. The entire community of, for example, YouTubers or people who show their life on social media, share it. I was going to say sell. That's why there was a post, because I really had to bite my tongue, because that was my personal opinion on that. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to be, I'm trying not to be judgmental. And that's interesting, what came to me as well here. But that's my personal view on showing that. But if anyone is fine with that, that's absolutely up to them. I love to keep my private and personal stuff to myself. But again, successful, knowing how to make money, and we're talking here about big money, how to create a legacy, how to bring something wonderful and enormous into existence.
Yeah.
Interesting example.
Yeah, and that's, of course, that's the beauty of it, is that you're in control, you're in charge. And of course, that actually goes to a certain level, like the YouTubes we are creating. We still work for YouTube in a way, and it's even worse on Facebook. But that actually, once you post something there, it actually becomes uh, it's owned by Facebook. As long as you leave it there, they can use it, and so there's a bit of a trickery there as well, and it's good to be mindful about what you do, and if you do it, be convinced that you don't regret what you're doing. Be happy about it. And that brings me to another thing that I came along with last year. Last year, I got a book, and a book about my profession, Druidry.
Mm.
And there was a lady from a university in the US has done a worldwide investigation under Druids, how they are, what they do, and how they are. It came to mind that, and that's more than anything else an American thing, that many people who are seeing themselves as Druids wouldn't even tell it within their family, within the within the within their household. They keep it private for the members of their household because they're not afraid to show them. They're afraid to show themselves, to say, "This is me. This is who I am." And I myself, I live in one of the most conservative small communities in Ireland, and everybody knows who I am, and they accept me for who I am, while they're extremely devout Catholics and anti-abortion and everything. Uh, they, I'm not hiding that I'm just a small bit different. I'm not
Mm.
different in the other way. I love to be here, and I'm part of the community, but I'm just a small bit different, and I cherish that. And I don't. I'm not selling it. You know, we know a lot of people who have habits, or who have special things, and it's one of the first things they always mention. I don't mention when I meet someone. I don't mention I'm a Druid. Would you mention you're a Catholic or not Catholic or a pagan or a high priestess? No, that's not what you do. And but once it comes out, own it. I think, yeah, that's
And
the
that's the key word again, own it. And I was
own
going
it.
to say that the reason the situation is like this, because you own it. You own who you are.
And I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks about it.
No.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's talk about how to implement it in our everyday lives then. How to empower yourself, how to take control over your life, how to get rid of those strings, and what else we can do to take control over our lives.
yeah. Especially the ones who are in the blueprint and know they're in the blueprint and don't see a way out. Uh,
If you don't see a way out, it's good to consult either Jan and me, because with the work we do, we bring guidance. Uh, yeah, so if you'd like to book a tarot reading with either Jan or myself, the details are in our description box.
yeah,
Um,
or even in a life coaching session.
yeah, and
Um,
why do I say
or
about
or a combination of both. You know, it's of course a tarot reading in a life coaching session is the best way to get the problems above the surface.
Yeah. And that's
To,
how we both work with Jan. We combine coaching and asking questions with bringing guidance and shining a light on the situation. And the reason I mention it is because sometimes it's hard to see when you're within a pattern, when you're inside of that. Sometimes it's really hard to see because there are things which cover our vision. Those are also limiting beliefs we put upon ourselves. So sometimes it's good to talk to a person who can give you a different perspective, show you
yeah,
something which you cannot see yourself.
yeah. Well, and I think what's very important in that perspective when you talk to someone, that you're not it's that you as a coach don't deliver a blueprint answer. There's a few aspects. Where are you in your life? I always say we have at least four fool's journeys in our lives. The
Ha!
first phase, the first phase when you're at home with your parents. Then when you left home, that's the
Mhm.
maiden phase in the woman, or the mabons, the boys phase in the man's life. Then we have the
Mhm.
second phase. That's in male perspective, the warrior, 20 to 50. The female phase, it's the empress or the mother's thing. After comes the crone. The women become the crone, like the that's the toughest part for the women themselves, and often also the toughest part for the people surrounding them. And in and in a in a boy's life, we get the chieftain. Then you become we're both on the pinnacle of the men and female. They're at the pinnacle of their careers, and after that comes the wise man and the wise woman.
Try to
And
live with female hormones. That's all I'm going to say about your last sentence. True. I mean, we are riding this dragon our entire life. You men know nothing about what it is when the chemistry of your body is just, messing with you. And that's something we have no control over.
well, men have to live with it as well.
Yes, but it's a small price.
It's a small price. I agree totally with you.
Yes, well, perhaps
but
the
yeah,
disclaimer at the beginning that we are a channel of honesty and truth.
boom. And even if it's not, even if it's not truth, it's honest. It's what we believe. But,
Yes,
what,
or we've
or even
experienced
it's
or within our own.
it's our opinion, and of course
Yeah.
everybody is free to disagree with our opinion. That's totally fine.
We're also Geminis, so we like to be on the spectrum of darker sense of humor as well.
Yeah, of
And,
course. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and some of our viewers are sharing that sense of humor, I believe, by looking at the reaction. Hi, Julie. It's so lovely to have you tonight with us. Julie was last week. Julie was our beautiful and wonderful guest. If you haven't seen that, I absolutely recommend. We were talking about the Empress as well as Bridget, and we were talking all about empowering that part of female energy and aspect. I absolutely recommend if you haven't seen it. It's gonna be on our channel within the live streams.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and like we said, like I said, we have these life phases where we go through when we stick to the story I was telling. We say we our coaching is always based on where you are in this phase, and
Mm,
the other part of the story is that you're always in all four phases at the same time. Just not they're not as important at certain phases of your life. You're always, hopefully, you're always a child, and who hasn't seen the wisdom of the old wise person in the eyes of a baby.
mm, so true.
We always go full circle, and so there's we look at people as multifaceted diamonds carrying various aspects of themselves, carrying, and we all carry this emperor within us. We all carry the one in us who creates their own life and who
Mm.
steps out of the blueprint.
Yeah, the potential is there, but we need to tap into it. And
That's
how you can do it, another way of doing is by constant and continuous learning and growing. That's what you said with the wisdom of an older person. The more experiences we have, the more wisdom and life experience we get. And
Mm,
we can take whatever we've learned from the past and turn it to into practical steps to take control over our lives and live the way we want to live.
yeah, yeah, and do the things you want to do, the things you really want to do, the things that make you feel you're creating purpose, a purposeful life,
Yes,
meaningful life, a life when you can look back on in pride, and that's what we wish for everyone.
absolutely. Another thing is you empower yourself by setting boundaries and creating boundaries. Showing we touched on that a little bit, but I think it's important to mention it again. That don't allow others to walk over you. It's beautiful when we choose to do things for others, but it's important to meet our needs first and fill our own cup first before we even start giving. And because giving from the overflow, which is actually which brings more into our lives, because if we have our cup only half full, we're going to take this energy and give it to other people, and we're going to have it less and less, and then we will have less power to create and to do things and make things happen. So it's very important to um, think of ourselves in order grounding ourselves, creating this safe structure for ourselves first.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that. I see that as walking the tightrope,
Mm,
walking the cord from one place to another, and always the chance to fall off. But you have to balance it. Um,
mm-hmm,
there's so I also see a lot of people, for instance, who are taking a care position, for instance, for their parents, or even worse, parents asking their children to care for them. And Woo! You're giving a lot of power away as a parent, but you also ask things you personally think you shouldn't ask. You're
But the
responsible for your
parents,
own life.
yeah, but the parents took care of you when you were young, so I see it as an energy exchange. And for
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
how
but it has to come voluntarily, I think. If
Oh,
you
that's a
know
tough
first.
one in terms of because there are so many aspects
Mm,
of that. It's a very controversial actually one.
yeah, yeah, we should
I
dare to
see,
talk
I
about
see both sides. Absolutely,
it. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And then it's a tough question, but I occasionally see young lives getting destroyed by this
Yes,
because
absolutely.
they were giving from a situation where they weren't ready to give because they
Mm.
didn't have their life in order, they didn't have their life on track, and then were pulled off, and it really totally destroyed lives, and that's a big thing, I think.
But again, I see it as their path and the lesson and something they came to learn here.
Yeah, of course.
As I said, it's a very tricky
It's controversial.
conversation. We can have lots of perspective on that.
Yeah.
But it's a good example. It is a good
Yeah,
example.
and it's a good example, and like we already see now, there's not one answer to the question. It's
Mm,
very dependent on the situation. It's situational, the answer.
yeah.
Who are you with the other party? Who's helping who? And what's given in return? There, that's
Mhm.
that's important too. And as a parent, I know I gave to my children their life, and I gave them what they needed to grow up. And let's start the show.
Yes, our producer is
Yeah, our producer
letting
is
us know, hey guys, it's 50 minutes.
15 minutes. We're on.
Karma, okay,
Yeah.
I think she wants to say hi. Karma, hello, come here. Ah, hello, this is my baby. It's amazing how week after week she grows and becomes bigger and bigger.
And she always shows herself for a second.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Will you be a good girl? Yes, she said yes. All right, I'm gonna hold her now because I really love to hold her.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to mention as well in when we talk about empowerment, I think when the emperor gets to the stage of being an emperor, there is a lot of energy of inspiring others as well, showing them the way. And I believe that the power lies in the inspiration itself. Sometimes we just need a little spark, one sentence, which works like a key opening those doors which were closed before. Would you agree that emperor is an inspiring archetype?
That's their that's their purpose, to inspire
Mm,
others. Of course, it's uh, no emperor rules his empire on his own. It's always a combination of forces put together, and that's the
mm,
leadership aspect of the emperor, that he can share responsibility and show faith and trust, give others the opportunity to grow as well, to find their purpose and their emperor in themselves. Yeah, very
yeah,
important. Yeah.
yeah. Is there anything you would like to add to the journey?
To the journey. Well, I think what I will add is that midweek we're going to do a smaller video where we specifically dive into the lessons to the full. Now we more or less focused on the aspects of being an emperor, finding the own emperor in your own life, and we're going to specify the lessons the fool gets from the emperor. Wednesday, I think we'll try to put that on again, the midweek show, and yeah, so far when you're watching, either live or when you're watching it later tonight or later in the week, to be
Give us
alerted,
thumbs up.
give us a thumbs up, and to be alerted on new videos created by High Priestess Luna and Magician Jan. Subscribe to our channel and press the alert button to be there, and put Monday 8 in your calendars, because we will be here.
Jan, would
Yeah.
you say that karma is an emperor?
Ooh, no, in the making, definitely.
Yeah, I was just thinking, looking at her, how she managed by showing up in my life, how she turned my life around and created this wonderful energy between us. And she made it happen by just showing up and being her true self. And it's very inspiring to me when I observe how she grows, her determination, her way of making things happen. If she has a goal, if she wants to get something from a higher shelf, she will find a way, she will make it happen. That's very inspiring, actually.
And very emperorish.
Yeah, my little emperor. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Thank you so much for
Thank
tonight.
you.
It was lovely to be a guest in your home, in your YouTube. And thank you for being here with us. We're looking forward to see you next week. And in the meantime, as Jan said, we will post some more content about the Fool's Journey and the Emperor and what lessons, just to summarize our today's conversation.
Yeah, and to take tarot uh, away from just reading cards, but to take tarot to a level of being the book of life.
Yes.
'Cause that's what we do. Bye, everybody, and
Bye.
see you later. Bye bye.
Bye. Ruff, ruff. That was Karma saying bye.